Today is Saturday, October 2025. I'm Sam Jaffer, and I'm 12 years old, the youngest grandchild of Noreen and Roger Denchmont. My grandmother's birthday is in a few days. She'll be 88, and my grandfather's 93. Today we're going to spend some time talking with them to find out more about their lives when they were young. I'm excited to hear what they have to say. This is my grandparents' house. They've lived here since 1964. And since 1964, my grandmother has decorated for every single holiday. This is the gathering place for the whole family. Everyone in the family comes here in the summer to hang out and use their pool. We have a lot of great memories with family and friends at this house. Let's see if they're home. Okay, this is my grandmother, and we're just gonna interview her about her youth. Okay. First question. Where were you born and what year was it?
I was born in 1937 in Stoneham, Massachusetts, at 50 Pond Street.
Okay.
It's where I lived until I got married.
Do you know why you were given your first name, and did you have any nicknames growing up?
I don't know why I didn't have a middle initial. I sometimes think my brother Tommy, who was the youngest of the boys of the family, and I was the youngest of all 8 children, I don't know if they ran out of names maybe because he didn't get a middle initial either. Mm-hmm. And so I took the letter T for Teresa at my confirmation. I think my mother and father just ran out of names maybe, I don't know. So is that what you wanted to know? What was the other question you asked me?
Did you have any nicknames growing up?
Yes, for some reason, because my name is Noreen, I don't know if Aunt Betty started it, but a lot of times I was called Nini. And I don't know if you know Kevin Hoyt, he's one of my nephews. Every once in a while, he'll still call me that.
Right. And what is your earliest memory?
Oh, gee, so many. Hard to say which came first. We were a large family in a small house, and I remember my sister Betty and I slept in the same room with my mother and father. We had one bed, and then they had their bed on the other side. And I can remember sleeping with her, and she used to talk in the middle of the night, and I can remember complaining to my mother and father that I didn't want to sleep with her anymore, but that was such a long time ago. At the time, I'm sure I was just irritated. One of my fun earliest memories, my brother Joe, who was killed in World War II, I think I must have been the only one left at home not going to school yet, and he brought me into Boston and took me to a show in town. It was a movie picture with nobody else would know, but her name was Sonia Henney. She was a very famous ice skater. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was great. And in those days, they had an act that would come out in between. And this would have to be Dennis Day, who, again, he was on this Jack Benny show that we used to listen to. So he did a performance. So I do remember that. And I do remember him curling my hair with curls, with a curling iron. And in those days, they didn't have electric curling irons. They were heated over the stove. Oh. Another way I got my curls, on Saturday night before Sunday Mass, my mother would put our hair up, what we used to call rags. They were just strips of cloth. And we'd all go to bed with rags in our hair and then wake up in the morning with curls. Those are some of my earliest memories.
Okay. And what was it like growing up in your home?
Home was very pleasant, actually. We had a fun family. Always some kind of activity going on, but not like today's kids. We were always around our neighborhood. People in those days had bigger families, and so there were always a lot of kids. You didn't have to go very far to find kids to play with. And where we lived, there was a field right next to us. We called it Leonard's Field. That was my maiden name, Leonard. It wasn't our field. We just called it that. So all the kids would come down, and that's where we would play baseball and do all of our activities. And then up beyond that was a hill. I went back years later. It was probably not much of a hill, but when we were little, we thought it was a huge hill. So we did all our snow sledding and everything down that hill. And then there was always music in my house. my mother played the piano. My brother George played the piano. And we just always, I don't know, we were always singing, especially my two sisters, Pat and Betty, and myself. We used to sing a lot together as we were growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we'd go out at night, and there was a stone wall across the street from our house. And we used to sit on that and just sing. I mean, today people would probably think we were crazy, but in those days it was a fun thing to do because you didn't have that much to do. So that's it.
Okay. And what was your favorite meal as a child?
I don't know if I had a favorite. I don't know. I have to stop and think. I just remember one of the things on Easter Sunday, because the wall was on and things were not available on Sundays. We were allowed to have as many eggs as we wanted. Other than that, we couldn't have eggs. And that was a big treat for us. On Easter Sunday, I should say, we could have as many eggs as we wanted. My favorite, I guess maybe spaghetti. My father used to make a nice spaghetti sauce. But meals were like today. My mother would probably cook a roast or something on Sunday, and then would have the leftovers on Monday, and then probably have something very light during the week, you know what I mean? And then Saturday was always hot dogs and beans and brown bread. And Friday night was always fish, because as Catholics in those days, we couldn't eat fish on Friday. So I don't really have a favorite, but they were pretty much the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't you have chickens?
The older kids had chickens. When I came along, the last one, they got rid of the chickens because one of them landed on Betty's head and scared her so much that they got rid of them. But we still had the chicken coop when I was young. And that's another thing. My brother Joe, he was very musical. And we used to put on little talent shows out of the chicken coop. That would be our stage.
What did you do for fun when you were little? Like, what was your favorite thing to do?
We just did so many things in a day. I mean, we played a lot of games around the house. Marbles and four square corner, we used to call it, in the backyard. Well, we took a lot of walks. Every Sunday, it seemed, we used to walk. We didn't live too far from the Stoneham Zoo, so we would always take a walk down there. And on the way, there were a couple of small waterfalls, so we would sit by the waterfall. Sometimes we'd pack a lunch and bring a drink. We didn't buy Coke in those days. We'd bring some kind of Kool-Aid drink and just keep it cool by the waterfalls. Those have all dried up now. But we did that a lot. And now, I mean, kids can't walk from here to the Kiln School Park. And I understand why. It's just not safe. But in those days, we used to go through the woods and we did all kinds of things. And nobody was ever afraid. It's just a different world.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what else? Jump rope, all those crazy. We played a lot of baseball. And then, ice skating in the wintertime. We used to walk a long way to go to ponds that were up in those woods I was talking about. So we would do that, all the sledding. There was always something to do. And then as I got a little bit older, I was a drum majorette in the St. Patrick's band. And then after that, they had a drill team. And Betty and I were in the drill team for years. I was in that until I got married, too. So different years, we had different activities, but it was always something.
Yeah.
What's a drill team?
Drill team is, I think there were 32 of girls, and you just marched in maneuvers and did different, probably like the band does now, with all their maneuvers, but bands in those days just played and marched. And then there were drill teams that marched and maneuvered. Yeah, so we'd have competitions and things like that. So, always busy.
Did you have any chores?
Yeah, we always had chores. We always had to keep our beds made. We always had to do the dishes. Pat, Betty, and I, one would wash, one would dry, and one would put away. Then the one that put away the next night would wash. So we just did it every night. And then we helped in the yard on Saturdays. My father had, we thought it was a big yard. Again, I look at it now and it was small, but there was a lot on it. He had a vegetable garden, and so we would help with that. And every Saturday we had to dust and clean the house with my mom.
Mm-hmm. So. Okay. Did your family have a car?
No, we never had a car.
What about a TV?
We had. I'm trying to think what our first TV was. I'm guessing I was probably 10. I don't really know, but some of the other families had them before us, and we used to go to their houses. And in those days, the television was a round circle. It was small, and everybody would be gathered around it, looking at it. So when we first got it, I honestly don't know. But one thing I do remember, in the summertime, my father made it connected so that it went out in the yard, and we would sit out in the yard and watch the television. And people would stop by with their cars. One truck driver, I remember, he was leaning over the fence watching it because not everybody had televisions. And so they were kind of fascinated that was there. So that's one thing I remember about television. And also, we didn't have it 24/7 like today. I mean, it probably didn't even come on until noontime. And then it would go off for a couple of hours, and then it would come on at night and then go off at midnight. So it wasn't on. And we probably only had 3 channels to pick from. Life was very simple in those days.
Okay, and did you have a phone?
I'm sorry?
Did you have a phone?
We did have a phone. Yeah, I always remember having a phone. My dad worked for the telephone company, and I don't think that was why. Everybody I knew had a phone. But we also had what they called party lines, so there would be other people on the same line. I just remember our number was always 0072, and then, no, it was 0072M when we were on the party line, and then they dropped the M when we got to a private line. But because my father worked for the telephone, if I get on the phone and I was talking too long, some of the operators would come on and say, Noreen, I don't think your father wants you talking that long, because they could hear. Or else it'd say, Noreen, go get your mother, I want to talk to her, because she knew them all. So there was just those crazy, of course I get irritated that anybody was listening to my phone calls, but that was it. Yeah, so we always had a phone.
Okay. And do you remember your grandparents?
I only remember my one grandmother was my father's mother, and she lived in South Boston, I think all of her life, as far as I can remember. When her youngest, I think my father was her youngest son, but when his older brother passed away, she came to live with us in Stoneham. And again, I forget how old I was. Again, I'm going to guess at numbers. I'm going to say 9 or 10. And then she lived with us until she died in 48, I think it was. So we did have a grandmother for that, but I never knew any of my grandfathers. The older kids knew my other grandmother. She lived with us before this grandmother came in, but again, she died in 39. And I was born in October of 37, so I don't have any memory of her at all. Am I talking too much?
No, it's an interview. You're supposed to talk.
Were all of your grandparents born in America?
Yes.
Okay. What was your favorite subject in school?
I guess English. And spelling. Spelling used to be a big thing in those days. I was always good at spelling. I was good at math until I got up into the geometry stages. I was okay with it, but I wasn't thrilled with it.
Did you have any pets?
Yeah, we did. We had a dog named Prince. He was a Cocker Spaniel, black, and he passed away. And then we had another dog called Spot. He was, I don't know what he was down there, probably like I think he was just a mixture of things, probably a fox terrier, something like that. And he was white with black spots. And then he passed away, and then we didn't get anything after that.
What do you remember about World War II?
The things I remember, because I was young, I remember the sadness in the town because so many people were sad because they had sent their husbands or their sons or uncles, brothers, whatever, off to the war. and so many were killed in Stoneham. And I remember my mother joined what they used to call the Gold Star Mothers. They were for mothers who lost a son in the war, and they would have their meetings and always get together, I'm sure, to discuss their loss and everything. I remember hanging on our front door window. Everybody had them in those days. There was a flag that you'd hang, and if you had one son in the service, you'd have a flag with one star, and if you had two, you'd have two. And my mother and father had three, and one of them was gold for my brother Joe. So my brother George, Jim, and Tommy were all in the service also, and Joe, but he got the gold star because he was the one that was killed in the war. So those are the things I remember. About the actual war, I can remember we had to save what we used to call fat, but we used to call lard, but it would be like grease. The kids would know it's grease. And my mother used to pour it into a tin can, and we would bring it up when it got solid. We'd bring it up to the store uptown. I don't know how, but somehow they turned those in. They would use them for ammunition for the wars. I don't know what they did with it, but that's what they did. Other than that,
How old was Uncle Joe when he died?
I'm sorry?
How old was he when he died?
Joe? I think he was 19, maybe 20. I forget now. It's not awful. I used to know all these things.
You told me a story once about you and Aunt Betty getting in trouble because you broke the butter open or something like that.
That was the other thing. You couldn't get real butter in those days. A lot of things were different in those days. You couldn't get real butter. So they had this kind of a white stuff, I don't even know what it was, in a plastic bag. And it had a yellow dot right in the middle of it. And if you worked that dot, that white stuff, it probably was what they would call margarine today. They didn't have margarine in those days, but that's probably what it was. And it would turn yellow. But you could tie it to pressing the button. So my sister Betty and I would throw it back and forth, and then it split open one time. They weren't too happy with us about that, but didn't do that again.
Did you get punished?
We very seldom got punished. We were actually pretty good kids for the most part. Sometimes just a look would do it.
Do you know why they didn't just keep it white?
No, I don't. Probably to let us think we were eating butter. I would think that would be the reason. Like today, margarine, it looks like butter. It doesn't taste as rich as butter, but it looks like it. I would assume that was why. Yeah. And another thing we had to collect, in those days, so many people smoked, and people were not good about throwing things away, so people would throw away their cigarette packages, and they were lined with silver, and we used to strip it and roll it into balls, and we'd bring that up too. I don't know if they use that for ammunition, but we used to save those and bring them up. And then we did stamp collecting, but I think that was for charity. That wasn't for war, and I don't know how it helped charity. But because my father worked in the telephone, he knew the people in the telephone business office. So we would stop in there because they had all kinds of mail. So we used to go into the school collected with bags of stamps that they would turn in. I think they turned it into, like I say, charitable places. How they used it for money, I don't know. But those are the things I kind of remember doing.
Okay. What was your first job?
My first job, well, babysitter, of course, everybody does that. I worked in a card store for a while. Not very long either. And I have to say, I didn't work while I was in high school. I went to school out of town. By the time I came home, anyway, I didn't. So my first job was actually after I graduated. I was a secretary to the office manager at the heck was it called? It's a paper company in Boston on Atlantic Avenue. And that was after I was there, and then I got married. That's my work stuff.
You got married when you were 19?
Yeah.
So you worked for like 3 years before you got married?
I'm sorry?
You worked for about 3 years before you got married-ish?
Well, probably not even that. I mean, I wasn't 16 when I graduated. I was probably 17 or so. Yeah.
How did you meet Grampy, and what were your first thoughts of him?
Grampy was, I was a bridesmaid at my sister Pat's wedding. Grampy was an usher at my sister Pat's husband, Uncle Len. He was an usher, and other than that, I didn't know him at all. And then the day after the wedding, he came back to our house at Pond Street to collect all the ushers' outfits, and he was going to bring them into the cleaners for them. And I don't know why. I mean, I was young. I don't know why. Not looking back on it. But anyway, I said, oh, my brother Tommy's car is out there. He said he just had a little accident. I'm going to walk out and see it. So I walked out to see that car, and he was going to his car to put all the usher things in, and he asked me if I wanted to go out. I said, yeah. That's how I met him.
Okay. A lot of things have changed in your life since you were born.
Say it again. Wait a minute. I'm sorry.
A lot of things have changed in your life since you were born. What's the biggest change that you've seen in your lifetime?
Ooh. Oh, I don't know. Right now, I mean, it's at different stages of my life, I guess. But right now, I would say the change in my country. My country isn't like I knew it as a child. There was just a lot of pride and a lot of, because of World War II, and also at 9/11, America just came together and worked together. And now I see it's just a divided country. I never thought I would see a divided America, but I feel it's very divided right now, and I don't know if it'll ever get back to where, I don't think in my time it will never get back to. I'm not sure if it'll just be a different world.
And for the last one, what's the naughtiest thing that my mom did as a child? She said she was good, but I don't believe that.
She was good. Now, if you ask me about naughty, no, I should put that in. I really, honestly, hon, I mean, if it was anything, it would be like a child's thing that you just corrected the father. I probably hauled him. Don't do that, but nothing that stands in my mind. Anything you stand in my mind? I just remember she went to school, and one of her teachers, because she was very different, she liked to do different things, and she liked to dress differently, and one of her teachers said to me, she just marches to a different drummer, but in a good way. But I really can't remember anything that I had to really punish her for. I don't know, you kids didn't get punished that often, right?
No, but there was a look, and
yeah,
a wooden spoon. Sam, you can probably relate to the look. Follow-up question to Dad and you talking in the driveway. What was your first date?
I'm sorry, Sid.
What was your first date?
Well, that would have been, they married the 14th, so he asked me, and I think it was the following week, so I'm guessing the 17th.
But what did you do?
Oh, I think we went to a movie. Couldn't tell you what, but...
Yeah. Did you kiss him on the first date?
No. Not in those days.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
That's it?
Yep. Grammy, can I ask you some questions about what it was like having a husband in the military?
Sure.
Okay.
And do you want me to just talk about it? Because I'll tell you, before I was a wife in the military, when I was going with Grandpa, he went into cadets to train to be a pilot. And I guess I never really thought about if he became a pilot that he'd be in the Air Force. I think I wasn't thinking that far ahead. But when he graduated from cadets, we went down to Texas, where he graduated from, to see him get his wings. His father and my mother and father went down to see that. And then when we came back from that, obviously, he had to finish out his cadets time. And we set our wedding date, and then we got married. And that plane ride down to Texas was the first plane I had ever been on. It's not like today. You know, kids travel the world. In those days, I hardly left Stoneham. Probably to the next town was about it.
And you were 18 or something?
I'm sorry.
How old were you?
Oh, well, I must have been like 19. I imagine 18. I don't know. But anyway, so and that was exciting. And then after our honeymoon, after our marriage, we couldn't have a honeymoon because he had to report back to the base. So we flew right to Texas. And the next morning, he had to report for duty at the Air Base. I didn't know anything about military life at all in those days.
Mhm.
And so I thought I'd be the perfect wife, and I was going to cook the best meal for him when he came home and all that. Well, he never came home, and he didn't come home, and I didn't know anybody. I was down there, and I thought, I don't know where he is. Anyway, somehow or other, I did get in touch with the base, and somebody told me that he had to fly out, and he was kept overnight someplace. I didn't know that. But it was just a different experience because it was Texas. The weather was different. There were what are they, tarantulas? I found a tarantula in my bedroom. I thought, oh, I'm not going to make it. And then at one point, this man knocked on my door. I guess he knew I was new. He said, have you ever seen a tornado before? And I went, no. And he said, there's one right over there. And he pointed to me. I was so scared. I just wanted to be home with my mother and father. It all worked out. But that was the beginning of my. So then we went from Texas, and then he had to do TDY, which is a temporary duty down in Florida. So we drove down to Florida and got an apartment down there. And then Grampy had to fly back to Texas so he could fly some of the equipment, some of the planes back to Texas. So it was back and forth, back and forth. And we didn't know where he was going to be assigned to. And I was hoping up Northeast because that's what I know. And when he ever came home and told me that we were going to go to Germany, I thought, oh my God, because I felt like we weren't that far over World War II. And I was still a little nervous about going to Germany because I was just still young, I guess. So anyway, so he flew to Germany, and then I stayed with my mom until I could get the right to go over there. Grampy had to put in for papers and all that. So then I flew to Germany, which was a long trip by myself, and I was pregnant. And I thought, oh, this is. I guess I never thought too much about it, but anyway, it turned out to be a fun life, being in the military. Different, obviously, but fun. Meet a lot of nice people, and they became your family because you were so away from your family that you relied on them. My mother died while I was over there, and I had to leave Auntie Anne and Uncle Keith with a lady that would take care of them, and I just flew home. And Grampy had to go to live in another place because the lady couldn't stay with him. So I could.
Because it was improper.
Well, she was a German lady, and she was engaged, so that would have been improper for her to stay there. So he went to live what they used to call the BOQ, the bachelor's quarters. So he lived in there while I was away. But I also knew that my friends were looking out for the kids too, so I felt comfortable about that. And so I stayed home for my mom's funeral. And I had a nephew that died while I was there, and I had a sister-in-law that died while I was there. And so they were fun times, and I got to travel, and we got to meet a lot of nice people, but there were some sad things in there too. But as far as the military life itself goes, it was a very good life. I don't know if it would have been different if Grampy had been in a lot of wars. I mean, I didn't have to face that, so I don't know. So we spent 4 years in Germany, and then we went up to Maine and spent time up there. And when we came home from Germany, we had 3 children. And then up in Maine, we had Uncle Steve was also born in Germany, and then Uncle Mike was born in Maine. So I think we were up there, I guess, around 3 years. But I loved it up there because it was close to home, and a lot of our relatives came to see us. And again, I met all kinds of nice people. So I have to say the military life, for the most part, was pretty good.
And when you were like traveling for the military, where did you stay? Like, did you live in a house or an apartment?
Say it again.
When you were traveling for the military, or like when you were in Germany, where did you live? Did you live like in a house?
I guess nowadays they would call them projects, but they were nice apartments, buildings, and there would be 4 floors, and it'd be like, I'm trying to think. I think there were 3 sections of it. And everybody lived in those, and there were certain areas that were for officers, and then there were certain areas for non-commissioned officers, and then there was the airmen, the younger people. They stayed at the barracks. So although I will say my first My first place I lived in Germany, I lived with a German family who also were very nice, but it was just another different experience because they just live differently than we do. And they were just as pleasant as could be. But in the back of my mind, I keep thinking, were they in the German War? Were they, I mean, you just don't know, but they ended up being really nice people. So we lived with them for a while before we moved on base. And we got to know the people in the town, and they got to know us. I mean, we didn't speak any German at that time. I probably couldn't now, but being over there for 4 years, we could speak broken German so that people could understand us enough, you know. So they were all very friendly, all very nice. Our customs were very different to them, and their customs were very different to us. I mean, we had turkey at Thanksgiving, and they thought that was the strangest thing because they never had turkey. And we had corn, and they said only corn was fed to chickens. That they thought it was funny that we ate it. But we brought our Thanksgiving dinner down to their place. They lived below us. And so we had our Thanksgiving dinner with them. It was very different. You know how your dad and all of it carved the turkey? Well, they used to use scissors and cut it up. And I'm thinking, I just cooked that turkey and they were all cutting it up with scissors. It was fine, but it was just so different. You know, a lot of different things for Justin.
And that was on the base?
No, that was with Liesel and Willie, the people that we lived with. That was their German house. We had an apartment upstairs, and their place was downstairs.
Okay. How long was it after you married Grampy? How long was it until you had kids?
Till I had kids? Not very long. I think probably about 10 months before Annie came. Annie was born in, I have to stop and think. We were married in 57, and Annie was born in 58. And then Keith was born in 59. And then Stephen was born in 61. Michael was born in 63. Joni was 67. Jimmy was 68. And Mom was 71.
Pretty good, Mom. You remembered all that.
Yeah. When you met Grampy, was he already in the military?
No, he wasn't. He was working for General Electric at the time. He was waiting to be called into cadets. Remember I said he was in cadets? But he was waiting to be called into that. And that's when we were going together. And then when he got called into that, that's when his military life started. Mine didn't start until after we got married. Yeah.
I think that's it. Thank you. We're at Hanscom Air Force Base in Lexington, Massachusetts. My grandfather wanted to show me and my brother Noah the jet he flew while he was in the Air Force in the 1960s. It's displayed here on the base. Let's go check it out.
What a beauty, huh?
Yeah.
Quite a toy.
Grampy, is this a model or is this the actual plane?
I flew this is the A model. I flew the D model. It had a dog nose on it, radar nose. I flew the interceptor version of it. It'd go about 700 miles an hour. It was good for about 45,000 feet.
It's cool.
That's easy.
We used to fly formation, close formation. There's a wingtip light on the end of the wing. Put the wingtip light on the lead guy's helmet and just do whatever you had to do to keep it there. Straight up, straight down, upside down, didn't make any doing. Just keep the wingtip light on the guy's helmet. I like formation flying. I was pretty good at it. Yeah, there was no trainer model for this. The first time you ever flew it, you were on your own. Like I think I told you, the guy says keep it about 120 on final miles an hour. I came down about 140.
Did you fly anything before this, Dad?
Nope. That was the very first one. Oh, yeah, I flew piston planes, trainers.
Wow.
Hmm.
And this is a one pilot plane?
It's one. I never flew anything other than one pilot plane. Just me and God.
Oh.
A couple of times God was doing the flying.
How did you become a pilot?
I joined the Air Force when I was 18. I became an airplane mechanic, and I really enjoyed being a mechanic. I could have been a mechanic all my life. I wanted to fly, so I went to aviation cadets.
Mm. Mm. What was it like at boot camp?
Boot camp? Well, they got you up about 4 o'clock in the morning and put you through all kinds of drills and stuff. That was when I was an enlisted guy, when I was a mechanic. When you, the aviation cadet, we slept in better barracks and had better food and all that kind of stuff. We went to school in the morning and flew in the afternoon. Then sometimes we'd fly in the morning and go to school in the afternoon. And after a while, we did a little bit of night flying too.
Mm.
I went to my first training school was in Moultrie, Georgia, which is in the southwest corner of Georgia. I flew a little 2-seat Cessna thing called a T-34, and then I went to the T-28, which was like a World War II fighter plane. It's a great big thing. It could go 350 miles an hour. It was a lot of fun flying both of them. Then after that, I went to College Station, Texas, which is the home of the Texas Aggies. And I flew a T-33 jet trainer there. I actually became an honorary Texas Aggie for a while, and I went to several football games in the mob with the Texas Aggies. It was quite a lot of fun.
Why did you join the military?
What was that?
Why did you join the military?
Oh, I graduated from Reading High School in June of 1950. 3 days later, the Korean War started. I didn't want to get drafted, so I joined the Air Force Reserves. Lenny Hoyt, Bobby Jones, and Bob Hegarty and I all joined over here at Hanscom. They called us to active duty April of the next year. Lenny Hoyt and I went to Fort Worth, Texas. Hegarty went to El Paso, and Bobby Jones went to Roswell, New Mexico. We stayed in for about 2.5 years.
You the only one who became a pilot?
Yep.
What's a swept wing fighter?
What's a what?
It says it's the first swept wing fighter.
Yeah.
What does it mean?
The others have straight wings like this.
Oh.
Swept wings, they go back like that.
Oh.
Do you have any questions for Grampy? Just taking it all in.
How was the food?
So I'll get a picture of you guys in front of the plane with me.
Yeah.
Okay, we're back at my grandparents' house, and I'm just gonna ask a few more questions about their childhood in the military. Okay, so, Grampy, I remember you told me about a story about Sindwiders when you were running around the base at boot camp. Can you tell me about the story again?
Oh, yeah, the rattlesnakes?
Mm-hmm.
Like I always say, God takes care of his idiot children. We went out to Edwards Air Force Base to test out a new control system. And I always used to run 2 miles a day when I was a pilot. So I was going to run around the edge of Edwards Air Force Base, which is out in the middle of the desert. And it was dark at night. I forgot about my sneakers, and I had to run in my military boots, which were pretty high up like that. So I was running around the edge of the the cat on the asphalt and stuff like that. And in one spot, every time I put my foot down, something hit it. I get hit by 6 snakes, sidewinder snakes, in a very short period of time. And like I say, God takes care of his idiots because they couldn't penetrate the boot. If I had sneakers on, I would have been hit by rattlesnakes 6 times.
And what was it like in Germany?
What was it like in Germany? Well, it's totally different from here because it's, I think, about 600 miles north. Remember in the wintertime, the sun would only come up halfway in the high sky and then go down. Very, very cloudy from October to April. Very, very cloudy. We didn't get much snow, but we got a lot of ice storms and stuff like that. And flying out of there, we were at Han Air Base. And that was only 5 minutes from the East German border. That was a border that split Germany in half. Russians on the east side and we were on the west side. And we used to patrol it in our airplanes. First 2 years I was in the F-86, and the second 2 years I was in F-102. So I went up and down that border in 4 years. I got 400 what they call combat air patrols on that border.
Okay, and some questions about your youth.
Mom, did you have anything else you wanted to add about living in Germany?
Well, the only thing I was thinking was when not in Germany, when we were in Maine. And it looked like World War III was going to break out.
Yeah.
And understandably, they were all obviously a nervous wreck and everything. But they forget. They left all the families behind, and what were we going to do? So we were instructed, because we had the kids and all that, so we were instructed what we had to do if World War III did break out. And we had a big duffel bag, and we were told what to put in there for supplies, how much water to put in there, find out what your kids could eat. And then there was this closet, and there was a lift that you lift up and you could crawl under in a crawl space. And they told us that if something happened, that's where we were to go with the duffel bag and all the kids. And I had everything ready, and I remember thinking, I'm not doing that. I'm not going under there. If I hear planes coming, maybe I'll go, but I'm not going to go under there and hide.
How many kids did you have at the time?
I was trying to remember, when was that? What was the year? But I don't know if Michael was born. I might have had just the 2.
No, Michael was born up in Maine.
I know.
Where was this?
This was in Maine.
Where were when you went to that whole Bay of Pigs thing? Where were you stationed?
Maine.
So
Michael might have
I'm
been
asking you what year it was, because I don't know if Michael...
1962.
Yeah, so Michael wasn't born, so I just had the 2 of them. I couldn't remember. I might have been pregnant.
3.
I don't... 3, I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that, it's just the families, and I don't blame them, but, they had to take off, and we're all like, what are we going to do? We don't want to be here either.
Scary.
Yeah, it was very scary for everybody. Thank God it didn't come to fruition. But then there was another time when we were in Germany, and the guys always used to take off and go to Tripoli for a month at a time for training. And again, all the families, the women were left behind with all the kids and all the caretaking and all that had to be done. So, you forget that while these military men are doing what they should be doing, they forget that sometimes the families are left behind a little bit. But it was all, I think I told yesterday, it was a great experience. So we made great friends and saw lots of things. But that was all. I just want to make sure people realize that the families.
Yep.
Okay. What were you telling me about the village of Sorhen?
Okay, when we first went over to Germany, there was no room on the base for us, so we had to live in a German village. And there was one about 3 miles from the base. And we lived in a house with Willie and Liesel Kirst and their son Ralph. We stayed there for 1.5 years. And after a year, and we became quite well known in the village. It was a very small village. There couldn't have been more than 40 buildings in the whole village. I was either known as Der Lieutenant or Der Roga. And there was nothing to do. We used to go for walks down the village and see the little stores and stuff. And I remember one day in October, we stopped by the village cemetery, which was right in the middle of the thing. They had a beautiful male chorus that was singing. And they thanked us afterwards. Not that they thanked us because they knew I was a lieutenant in the Air Force. And they thanked us for visiting their Memorial Day, the German Memorial Day. I remember that. So yeah, we didn't speak German. The landlord, Willie, was a tank driver on the Russian front, and Liesel worked as a secretary for the Gestapo, which was a very bad police force in Germany. She told me that she didn't want to work for him, but when she went to school, she was 18 years old, came out as a secretary. It was either go where they put you or get shot, so she worked for the Gestapo. We stayed there for a year and a half, and you know what charades is?
Yeah.
Through a lot of charades and stuff like that. We learned enough to speak English, German. They didn't know enough to speak English, but we could finally converse with each other. And by the time a year and a half was up, we could both talk German like a little kid. We could get our point across. It was pretty good. Then after a year and a half, we moved on the base.
That's where Auntie Ann was born.
Huh?
We lived there when Ann was born.
Yeah, Ann was born there. Yeah.
Okay, what's the biggest? A lot of things have changed since you were born. What's the biggest change you've seen?
The biggest change in the world?
Yeah.
These things. When we were young, nobody had cars.
Mm-hmm.
We were all very poor. Nobody had a car. We had a telephone. 4 party lines. There's 4 people of the same number. You call a number, it would ring like we were ring 2.
Mm-hmm.
It was for us if it rang 2, and the other thing it was for somebody else. Then after a while it come out, that you got better and better. So now we got these. It's just amazing. Communications phenomenal since I was a kid.
Okay. Did you have any chores?
Do you have any what?
Chores.
Toys?
Chores.
Chores. Yeah, I had to sweep the back steps and wash them. I had to take out the rubbish. And we had a big 55-gallon drum. You had to burn it. My grandfather had a couple of chicken coops. One was in our yard. We lived downstairs with my grandfather. I had to feed the chickens. Little baby chicks, little things about that big. Get about a couple of hundred at a time and put them in a little place. And we had to feed them. That was about it.
What was your earliest memory?
Earliest memory? Oh. The one I remember most, this may not have been the earliest, we had a hurricane in 1938. One of the worst hurricanes ever to hit America. I was 6 years old. I got out and walked around in it just to see what it was like. I can remember telephone, electric wires bouncing all over the place, trees falling down. I was on Warren Avenue and I walked down the end of Warren Avenue. I went to the ballpark, on the Croc Washington Street ballpark, and then I started to make my way home. The wind got so strong it blew me into a tree that had already fallen down. I'm hanging on the damn thing for my life. And if I remember, his name was Bud Collins, was an 18-year-old high school kid, picked me up and took me home.
What was your favorite meal as a child?
Favorite meal?
Mm-hmm.
Was always meatloaf or hamburger some type.
What do you remember about World War II, and how old were you?
World War II. We were both pretty young when World War II come through. And I remember everybody got involved in World War II. We used to save wrappings from chewing gum. Remember that? You used to make them in big balls because they used it for something. We used to save fat because there was something in fat they could make ammunition out of. Everything you ate was rationed. Bread, milk, butter, and all that kind of, it was all rationed. You could only get so many per week or day. I remember gasoline, nobody had a car, but the lady next door had a car. She could only get 3 gallons a week. And I remember I was in the 6th grade when the D-Day, they invaded France. You remember the 6th grade teacher turned on the radio, and I remember it was the battleship Massachusetts was bombarding the shore of France. When the war got over, they had what they called a 52-20 club. All the veterans could go get paid $20 a week for 52 weeks. And $20 was a good fee in those days. This is way back in 1945. $20 wasn't bad. So they used to play baseball over the Washington Street ballpark, and we had a big diamond and a little diamond. There would be 2 games going all day, every day. And the veteran guys are the guys that helped teach me how to play baseball. So it was pretty that way. And then I can remember we used to sit on the bleachers at night, before it got too dark. And guys would talk about their war stories. I remember a guy talking about invading southern France. Another guy fighting in Japanese on Bougainville Island. It was all, and then our priest, Twink Conley, his name was James, but everybody called him Twink, would talk to us about heaven and hell. We learned a lot on those bleachers. It was kind of interesting.
Weren't you able to get a bicycle too?
Oh yeah.
What'd you ask?
Everything was rationed. Reading was allowed 2 bicycles either a week or a month, probably a month. I was allowed after a while to get a bicycle because I was a runner for air raid warden, Baldy Ryland. Me and Pushy Dawson. What we'd do is they'd go around at night and make sure everybody had the curtains so there's no light shining. And we had bicycles, we could run errands for the air raid road.
What do you mean Reading was only allowed 2 bicycles a month? What does that mean?
It was rationed.
Reading, the town, could only purchase 2 bikes?
Yeah. It was the middle of the war. There was no metal.
Oh.
They tore up Minot Street to get the old trolley car tracks because they were so hard up for metal. All of Minot Street down to the railroad crossing, they tore it up and took the tracks out and melted them down for whatever.
Okay. What was your favorite subject in school?
100 plus in every one of them. I love physics, chemistry, and math.
Okay. So how did you meet Granny?
My friend Lenny Hoyt married her older sister Patricia. I was a usher. She was a bridesmaid. They put us together. She's kind of a cute kid. I asked her to go out for a date.
Okay. And where did you go for your first date?
Where did we go? We went someplace to get something to eat. I can't remember where it was.
She can't say anything.
I don't know. We went out someplace to get something to eat. Remember, we did go to the movie. Remember seeing Harry James in Boston? We went to a show. Harry James was a big band leader, and we went and saw his performance in Boston one time. Did I tell you anything about TWA?
Okay. What's TWA?
TWA was an airline called Trans World Airlines. It's now out of business, but I was in the Air Force. I guess it was up in Maine. And I was reading the paper one time. It said that there were 7 major airlines looking for pilots. And it said the starting pay was that of a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force. That caught my attention. I was a captain. So I applied for, we took Bob Kehoe from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and I took a plane from Loring Air Base in Maine. We flew out to Kansas City and got interviewed by TWA. We both got hired. I think it was in 1964 in July. I got out of the Air Force I think maybe it was July 21st, and I went to work. I went to school in Kansas City for TWA on July 27th, and I stayed 28 years with TWA. I started out. Do you know what a Lockheed Constellation is?
Yeah.
It's a big 4-engine, 3-tailed airplane. I started out as a co-pilot on that. Then the opening came up. I became a co-pilot on a Boeing 707. And then I became a captain on a Boeing 727. And back to being a captain on a Boeing 707. I was a co-pilot on a Boeing 747. And ended up as an instructor pilot on the Lockheed 1011. My job as an instructor pilot, I was officially graded by both the government and TWA to train people to be pilots on the airplane. I would check out a captain or a co-pilot, and they flew with me for a while till I thought they were good. When I said they were okay, they became a pilot or a co-pilot. I did that for both around the United States and overseas. I did that for 6 years. And I really enjoyed that job. That was a good job.
Okay. Thank you.
What did you think about being the wife of a pilot? Like when he decided to come out of the Air Force and become a pilot, what were your thoughts on that?
I have to be honest, I really enjoyed being in the Air Force, and I didn't particularly want to get out until he said it was the TWA. Of course, it was the money thing, but also he would be next in line to be sent to Vietnam. And so that made it a little bit more convincing.
Yeah, I forgot it. Yeah, it was.
To accept the TWA role.
So what did you love so much about the Air Force? I'm surprised that you loved it so much.
Well, I looking back on it, I didn't have any. I mean, I was lonely for relatives and things, but because I think I told Sam yesterday, they became our family.
Yeah,
and so you
people
trusted.
were wonderful.
You just trusted them,
People were
and
wonderful.
it was always a fun time. There was always fun people. So I just enjoyed it.
We were in the Air Force long enough to develop a Midwestern accent. When we came back here, everybody told us we talked funny.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, well, that's good. Very nice. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. And now you have how many grandchildren?
I don't know, 15?
How many great grandchildren?
4? 5.
6, right? 6 great grandchildren. And I think everybody has learned to swim in this pool, right?
Yeah.
When did you put the pool in, Dad?
When what?
When did you put this pool in?
1982?
3 or 4, I forget.
Best decision you ever made, right?
He didn't make it, I made it.
Ah, was the
She
best
just-
decision you ever made.
She designed it.
Yeah?
So that's her design.
I don't know about that, but
We were going to go either buy a cottage up in New Hampshire on a lake or a pool.
I don't think so.
She very wisely said the smartest thing to do is put in a pool.
Yeah.
No.
You just wanted a pool, Mom?
Well, we used to go to the beach all the time. And again, the women pack up the lunches, do their thing, and then feed the kids, and then come home. They were sandy, they were tired, they were crying. And I said, this is it for me. We're either going to put in a above ground pool or we're going to put in a regular pool. And so we decided to go that way because it took the back and forth to the beaches with kids. I mean, they were fun, but they were a lot of work.
Yeah.
So this
And you
was
didn't get your driver's license until probably 76 or so, I would think.
no. I was expecting Jimmy at the time.
I remember you not having a license, and I was born in 71. I remember you counting on Franny, I thought.
No, I don't.
Maybe I haven't.
Now I thought I was expecting Jimmy when I got it. You might be right.
Yeah.
You know what? The years for me now are running all together.
I
so
remember Aunt Betty, you teaching Aunt Betty to get her license. And I remember you trying to teach Aunt Marie.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah. So yeah, it was late. I got it late. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. So we relied a lot on taxi cabs in those days. They don't have them. Well, I guess they have Uber now, which takes the place of taxi cabs. Yeah. So that was the decision we made, and it was a good decision. Yeah.
Very good. All right, Sam, I have a question for you.
What?
What have you learned during this whole process?
That my grandparents are pretty interesting people.
I would agree with that. All right, what do you say?
Well, thank you. It's
Thank
nice to
you.
know that we're interesting people.
Okay. This is Sam signing off. Goodbye. This is for my BSA Genealogy merit badge. Goodbye.